Hello everyone. Here we'll be taking up first two questions in exercise 4.2 of chapter quadratic equations in the NCERT book. We've learned how to form a quadratic equation in the previous exercise. Now we'll see how to solve these equations or how to find the values of the variable given in the equation. For this we need to factorize the given quadratic expression. Now we can factorize in a few different ways. One such way is to split the middle term. And the questions here in this exercise will be dealing with this very concept. Basics of this topic have been covered in a video already shared. Link is given in the description. So assuming you've gone through that video once, I move further. First part of the first question in exercise 4.2. X square minus 3x minus 10 is equal to 0. Now we can see that minus 3x can be written in terms of plus 2x minus 5x. So we'll do that. Further, seeing the first two terms, we see that x is common to the first two terms and we'll be left with x minus 5 inside the brackets. Next two terms, we see that 2 is common and again in the brackets, we'll be left with x minus 5. Now moving further, the two terms that now we have, we can see that x minus 5 factor is common to both the terms. So we'll take that common and we'll be left with x plus 2 inside the brackets. X minus 5 can be written as equal to 0 and x plus 2 can be written as equal to 0. On further solving the two equations, we get x equal to 5 and x equal to minus 2. Now second part of first question. 2x square plus x minus 6 is equal to 0. Here we see that x can be written as plus 4x minus 3x. So we'll do that. First two terms we have 2x common and we'll be left with x plus 2 inside the brackets. In the next two terms we have minus 3. We can take common and inside the brackets we'll be left with x plus 2. Further, these two terms, we can see that x plus 2 is common to both and inside the brackets, we'll be left with 2x minus 3. On further solving, we get x plus 2 is equal to 0 and 2x minus 3 is equal to 0. That gives us x equal to minus 2 and x equal to 3 upon 2. Now third part of the first question, root 2 x square plus 7x plus 5 root 2 is equal to 0. Here we see that we can write 7x as plus 5x plus 2x. So we'll do that. And this is the equation that we get. Now the first two terms, we can see that here root 2x is common to both the terms. So we can take x root 2 outside the brackets and in the brackets we'll be left with x plus root 2. Next two terms, we see that 5 is common, so we are going to take 5 common and we'll be left with x plus root 2 inside the brackets. These two terms, we can see that x plus root 2 is common, so we'll take that out and inside the brackets we'll be left with x root 2 plus 5. On further solving, we get that the two values of x that now we are getting is x is equal to minus root 2 and x is equal to minus 5 upon root 2. Moving further, fourth part of the first question, that is 2x square minus x plus 1 upon 8 is equal to 0. Here we'll be taking the LCM first. So we can see that when we take LCM we get 16x square minus 8x plus 1 upon 8 is equal to 0. Further 8 in the denominator on the LHS and 0 on the RHS will multiply and we are left with 16x square minus 8x plus 1 is equal to 0. Now we can see that minus 8x in terms of the factors of 16 and 1 can be written as minus 4x minus 4x. So we'll be doing that. Further, the first two terms, we can see that 4x is common to the first two terms and we'll be left with 4x minus 1 inside the brackets. Next two terms, only 1 is common, so we'll take minus 1 outside the bracket so that inside the brackets we are left with 4x minus 1. Now these two terms, 4x minus 1 factor is common to both the terms and inside the brackets we'll be left with 4x minus 1. On further solving, we get that the value of x now that we get is 1 upon 4. Now fifth part of the first question, 100x squared minus 20x plus 1. Here we can see that minus 20x can be written as minus 10x minus 10x. So we'll do that. First two terms we can see that 10x is common, so we'll be taking that out, and inside the brackets we'll be left with 10x minus 1. Next two terms we see only 1 is common, so we'll take minus 1 outside the brackets and we'll be left with 10x minus 1 inside the brackets. Further moving, we see that these two terms have 10x minus 1 common, and inside the brackets we'll be left with 10x minus 1. On further solving, we find that the value of x that now we have is x is equal to 1 upon 10 and x is equal to 1 upon 10. Now coming on to the second question, first part. John and Jivanti together have 45 marbles. Both of them lost 5 marbles each, and the product of the number of marbles they now have is 124. We would like to find out how many marbles they had to start with. Here they've already given us the equation, that is the solution that we have in example 1. So the equation for this situation that we have is x square minus 45x plus 324 is equal to 0. Now we see the factors of 1 and 324 and we find that we have 2 into 2 into 3 into 3 into 3 into 3. So minus 45x can be written as minus 36x minus 9x. So we've done that. On moving further, we find that x is common to the first two terms and 9 is common to the next two terms. So when we take x common, we are left with x minus 36. When we take minus 9 common, we get x minus 36 inside the brackets. Now these two terms have x minus 36 common, and inside the brackets we'll be left with x minus 9. On further solving, we find that x minus 36 is equal to 0 and x minus 9 is equal to 0. We can write this. We'll solve these equations separately and we find that the value of x that now we have is 36 and 9. Now looking at the question given to us once again, we were supposed to find the number of marbles that these people had to start with. And also we have already assumed in the example you can see in your books, the number of marbles with John were x and the number of marbles with Jivanti were 45 minus x. So moving further, we see that two cases are possible here. Case 1, when the value of x is 36, we can say that John had 36 marbles, Jivanti had 45 minus 36, that is 9 marbles. For case 2, we can say that John had 9 marbles and Jivanti had 45 minus 9, that is 36 marbles. Now coming on to the second part of the second question. A cottage industry produces a certain number of toys in a day. The cost of production of each toy was found to be 55 minus the number of toys produced in a day. On a particular day, the total cost of production was rupees 750. We would like to find out the number of toys produced on that day. Now here we see that the equation that they've already found in the solution of example 1 is x square minus 55x plus 750 is equal to 0. On finding the factors of 1 into 750, we find that minus 30 minus 25 gives us minus 55. So we can write minus 55x as minus 30x minus 25x. Now from the first two terms, x is common and inside the brackets we'll be left with x minus 30. From the next two terms we have 25 common. So we'll take minus 25 outside the brackets and inside the bracket we'll be left with x minus 30. So this is the equation that now we have. From these two equations we find that x minus 30 factor is common to both the terms and inside the brackets we'll be left with x minus 25. Now these two factors can be equated to 0 separately and we find that the value of x that now we get is x is equal to 30 and x is equal to 25. Now looking at the question once again, number of toys are either 30 or 25. Well, that's all for now. Thank you very much and all the very best.